Oh, okay.
That basically would tell me some of your risk factors for other chronic diseases. So if you have at risk, would basically just be your increased risk for certain diseases, and if we can reduce those numbers, that can help prevent some things.
Oh, okay.
So that's another assessment we can do after this, if that's okay.
Yep.
Just going to give it another few seconds here, and then I'll inflate the cuff again. Good, so it's actually 138/84, which is a little bit lower than last time. I will let your poor arm relax now. Sorry about all those squeezes.
That's all right. That's happened to my doctor a few times.
Sometimes those bells are a bit tricky. Over 84, excellent. So with your body mass index, that's basically a calculation with your height and your weight. Do you happen to know what your last height and weight was?
Actually, because we just did that at my doctor's not that long ago, so I know I was 80 kilograms, so I have no idea what 80 kilograms is.
Okay.
And 172 centimeters.
Okay. So I actually use them in kilograms and centimeters for this calculation, so that's wonderful. So thank you for giving the metric. I'm just going to pull up my calculator here. So your body mass index is 23. So just looking at this lovely little grid here, it tells us what the different body mass index means in terms of risk for developing health problems. So 23 is kind of sitting in that the lowest or least amount of risk factor, which is good. So it's kind of in that normal range. So anywhere from 18.5 to 24.9 is kind of that range, which is excellent. If you're on the smaller side or as it increases, it just increases your risk for these disorders.
Okay.
So the other thing that we would look at is your waist-hip ratio. So if you don't mind standing up and taking off your jacket again, this measuring tape will just go around your waist and then your hips. And then it's just basically a ratio of those two measurements. So I'm just going to get you to hold the one side and pass it around behind you there.
That's much easier than
Perfect.
walking.
And if you could just put your thumb where your belly button is. I just want to make sure I have the right side there. Perfect. So I've got 96. And then for your hips, if you could just put your hand on the top of your hip bones. Perfect. And then we'll slide that around again. Perfect. And then 109.
Can I put my jacket back on?
Yes, and you can have a seat again. Thank you. I'm just going to do a few more calculations again. Okay. So for your waist-hip ratio, the number I got was 0.88. So if we look at this classification, it tells you where you're sitting in terms of risk. So anything over 0.88 does say that you're at risk. So some ways that we can limit some of those risk factors, so your blood pressure being increased, different lifestyle changes can help decrease your waist-hip ratio as well as your blood pressure.
Oh,
So we can focus on strategies that kind of hone in on both, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Excellent. So a few different strategies. There's actually some handouts from the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I don't know if you've seen these handouts before at all.
No.
So basically it talks about a few different ways to lower your risk for cardiovascular issues. So having your blood pressure taken regularly by a healthcare professional, which you are. Quitting smoking, which I know you identified as something that you wanted to do. Managing weight, so that kind of is the waist-hip ratio part as well. So that might just be changing diet. So you said you eat out a lot.
Yeah.
So it might be trying to pack lunches instead of eating out, or making healthy choices if you do eat out a lot. So things like that might be salad instead of like a really high fat meal.
Okay.
Choosing a bit more vegetables, or even how the vegetables are cooked to limit some of those really fatty meals.
Okay.
Getting and staying physically active is really important, and I know it's really challenging with the long winters here in Calgary. I think it's great that you and Stu are able to get out on the weekends, but even to maybe make a point of going out for a walk during the middle of the day, or even within your office building, doing some stairs and still being able to have a mental break from work, which is sometimes it sounds like very much needed, but also to keep yourself physically active. That can definitely
So I could
help.
incorporate that instead of just shutting the door. I could just go for a walk.
Yeah, even go up and down a flight of stairs. Yeah. Often stairs are very empty, unfortunately, but it's a nice place to get some quiet peace of mind sometimes. And so that kind of addresses the next point as well with stress, decreasing the amount of stress in your life. Drinking alcohol, if you can limit 2 drinks per day, which it sounds like you do usually, about 2 glasses of wine. So as long as you're not going over that, and again, if you're feeling more stressed, maybe not turning to wine or to cigarettes, but into physical activity or even mindfulness.
Yeah, my friend, there's some weekend retreat or something, and so I might look into that.
Yeah, that sounds great. So this is just a few risk factors that you can't necessarily control. So we talked about some of your family history. So those are things that are out of your control, but the other side of the sheet tells you all the things that you can.
Okay.
Which is really helpful. A strategy that's similar to mindfulness that you mentioned is if you're feeling stressed out, taking 10 minutes just to kind of refocus things. It kind of goes through what is stress, how does stress affect your heart, if you're stressed, how it can affect you, and changing your thought pattern, but also this really important strategy of kind of mindfulness is taking 10 deep breaths. So when things seem to be really escalating, even at your office or if you're taking the stairs or going for a walk, just trying to take slow, deep breaths, 10 breaths in and out, just to refocus and resituate yourself in your day. Sometimes that can really help with stress.
I like that it's all on these sheets that I can refer to.
Yes, and you can take these sheets home for your reference too.
Oh, perfect.
The last one I really wanted to talk to you about was kind of going with that take 10 time out for focusing on your stress and trying to de-stress. Basically, you can fill this out with different stressors throughout your day, how the stress was affecting you, what strategies you use to try and compensate for the stress and cope, what worked and what didn't work, and then what will you want to do in the future.
Oh, okay. So I think, when you write it down, it becomes much more concrete, and you can see things. So I think that's a good idea, too.
You can also take this back to your doctor as well, since you see them more regularly, and just kind of touch base with them and say these are the strategies you're trying to implement.
Okay.
In terms of your medications, in order to decrease them, I think first working on your stress will be a great start. And then if your blood pressure starts to decrease, that's a conversation you can have with your physician saying, do I need the same dose or is there a possibility to decrease it? But these are the things that you can easily adapt in your life and change without addressing the medications quite yet.
Okay.
Does that sound like a good plan? Oh, and I almost forgot. You did ask me to look up that medication.
Here's the list that I keep in my purse.
Oh, perfect. So Lipitor is the one that you weren't aware of? Okay, let me just look this up in the drug book here. Okay, so Lipitor is basically used with a low-fat diet to decrease the bad cholesterols or the low-density lipoproteins.
Yeah, he did say something about that, and I know my dad has bad cholesterol.
Oh, perfect. So this is what it would be for.
Okay.
Another way that you can decrease this medication would be to decrease all the eating out in the high-fat diets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It basically allows more room for the good cholesterol to be present instead of the bad one. It decreases the risk for heart attack, for stroke, and certain types of heart diseases, which it sounds like your family has a history of. So it sounds like a good medication to be on in your situation, but again, that diet piece can probably be a way of addressing that problem as well, in addition to the medication.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions or concerns that I didn't address today?
I don't think so. I'm gonna take this, and I think this would be great for me to keep looking at. And I also, I'm gonna send my staff, make sure they come in too, because I think this is really worthwhile.
Oh, thank you so much. That's good to hear.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome, Justine. Have a great day.
You too.